City of Fresno, California is taking a very aggressive stance on homelessness. They're going to start arresting those who don't follow the rules. Let's get into it. Here we go. So Fresno, California, doing work. This California city is taking one of the most aggressive responses to Supreme Court ruling on homeless camps. Were these folks really waiting for the Supreme Court? I mean, I think that just really kind of gave them the old kick in the butt. Oh, hey, we can do something now. All right. Let's take a look at these photos real quick. Okay, we're in this article, we're going to talk about the train tracks. Now, having a homeless encampment where people are doing a lot of drugs, some sex trafficking, who knows what, selling of stolen goods, having a train roll through in the dark, that doesn't seem like a necessarily good idea, does it? No. So this whole notion of a, tent right next to the train tracks, I can see why leadership might say, no can do, folks. No can do. There's the mayor of Fresno. He's the one just kind of really dropping the hammer. Here's a notice. This is an interesting notice. This was from activists, and they're saying, basically, this is nonsense. What can we do about it? Maybe Fresno isn't the place you go to be homeless, right? And here you've got, I believe these are the train tracks right behind it again. Or is that a street? You can't really tell. Anyway, you just got people just posted up, and in the background, you've got, a business being operated. You got warehouses, and yeah, folks are just camping out wherever the F they want. That's not really how it's supposed to go, but California has just let this situation go, and various leaders within communities are taking different stances, aren't they? And so this article is going to tell us basically the police that we're looking at here, they're going to start arresting people. So yeah, I've had a lot of people reach out to me and say, hey, Sean, with the whole San Francisco thing, they're really cracking down on homeless. It sounds like they're really cleaning it up. The real issue there is that unless folks are going into treatment and getting squared away, or they're going to jail because that's where they belong, all you're really doing is shuffling people from one community to the next. Right? So in San Francisco's case, Mayor London Breed, she needs to get reelected. So she's just going to drop the hammer and make San Francisco look spick and span. That means you're moving the homeless population out just a little bit to the burbs. And a lot of this has to do with from up on high, from Gavin Newsom. All of a sudden, he is hot to trot to get those pesky homeless taken care of. Remember during the very beginning of the pandemic, everybody was like, oh, the homeless just need to be able to stay wherever the F they want because, the CDC dictated that if you move the homeless, they might spread the Rona. They're already outside, and the Rona doesn't do well on the outside. We figured that out due to our genius scientists, right? Mike Jones has been homeless for 20 of his 59 years of life. And as he watched a team of police and street cleaners throw away his pile of soggy tarps and trash last week, he shrugged. I have 8 dogs, and I just don't like shelters, he said. Too much like jail, and I've had a lot of experience with jail. I'm just fine out here in my tent. That's the problem, is that the community isn't okay with folks just randomly out there in a tent. That's why they have community shelters for people who are unhoused. So Jones' ability to remain outside this city's shelter system is about to get a lot harder. The same goes for every other homeless person in this rapidly growing town and virtually every other locality in the sprawling farmlands of the Central Valley. Spurred by the June U.S. Supreme Court ruling allowing governments to sweep out homeless encampments without having to first offer shelter, Central Valley jurisdictions from tiny Turlock to the wide San Joaquin County are passing and enforcing stringent bans on any type of camping or loitering on public land. Governor Gavin Newsom's executive order in July urging local leaders to vigorously break down camps if they were big or disruptive enough to be deemed dangerous seemed to add his blessing to the efforts. Well, Gavin Newsom's going to run for president in 2028, right? I mean, that's a good guess. And having San Francisco and California in general look the way that it does right now is not a good look for a presidential bid. It's just not a good look for California in general. You've got a third of all the homeless located in California. It's because you've allowed it to happen. City, county, state leadership has allowed, because this misguided compassion to just allow people to do drugs in tents on the side of streets anywhere they want in public parks. We see it in Seattle on, sloping greenbelt areas. You've just got these big contingencies of homeless encampments. I've walked through them, and it's like, hey, if you want to be concerned about the environment, if you're really concerned about the environment, why don't you get your ass down here and clean up some of the needles that are strewn throughout these greenbelt areas where you've got these running streams of running stormwater coming through, and just who knows what contaminants are in there. In one camp, one individual's campsite near Magnolia, which is kind of north of downtown Seattle. It overlooks the water. You got $1 million homes there. In one encampment, We Heart Seattle came up with over 80 containers of propane tanks, and about a quarter of them were filled. You got 80 propane tanks that one dude has basically collected. You want to talk about contamination? Clean up some of that crap first and get to the rest of the environmental stuff, later. I mean, have priority, right? Get the homeless cleaned up out of the parks, get them into treatment, get them into a mental institution, get them into jail, wherever they need to go, but they can't live on the streets. The biggest city in the valley, Fresno, has embraced perhaps the most aggressive actions of all, well beyond measures taken by counterparts to the northwest, like San Francisco and San Jose. On Monday, here we go. On Monday, a city ban on any encampments on public land goes into effect, soon to be followed on October 13th by another policy prohibiting camping on private land, essentially making it illegal to camp in the city. Violations can bring a $1,000 fine or a year in jail. Now, this is Fresno, so this isn't San Francisco, but still, do you think a judge is going to look at some homeless dude who's been homeless for the last 10 years, probably has some mental issues, probably got a drug addiction and or two? Is he going to put somebody in jail? This is California, right? Compassion is letting people kill themselves with drugs. So odds are probably not. Quietly, with little outside attention, Fresno has been cracking down on camps and ramping up its services. That's smart. So it's ramping up its services so vigorously that its leaders say the city's on track to drastically reduce its homeless population. Okay. All right. So here's the deal. You either go and get services, you get the help that you need, or we're arresting you. And those are your options. And what that does is it pushes people away. Now, they're going to go to other cities that haven't done this kind of deal. So you're going to have the haves and you're going to have the have-nots. And the haves are going to be like Republican cities where you go there and you look around and you go, no real homeless here. They're not just sprawled out everywhere willy-nilly with doing the shenanigans like they are in Portland. What's the deal here? It's because of that misguided compassion that allowing people to just shoot themselves up with drugs or now smoke themselves up with drugs as you do is compassionate. Just let them do it until they get to a point where they can, make a decision. These are drug addicts. They don't make decisions to go into treatment. They've been doing this for years and years and years. They're not going anywhere unless you give them a little prod. You gotta, do something. The new camping bans are just the latest moves with one more twist to come. On Monday, Fresno Mayor Dyer said that he plans to add more teeth to the ban by ordering the police department to arrest the most troublesome, continuously service-resistant homeless people in Fresno. It could mean scores of people tossed in jail. Interesting. This is taking things to where they should be taken. Because if you don't have any teeth behind all these laws, it's just like in Portland, where they've outlawed homeless encamping here, and here. All right, you can't be by a school. You can't be by the driveway of a business. You can't do it in a park. You can't do it here. So then all the folks are going to do is just go somewhere where they're not continuously enforcing it. So, but arresting folks, if you started arresting folks in Portland, you know what they would do? They would leave Portland. But Portland isn't going to do that because Portland has misguided compassion, and they're going to keep saying, tell people, well, you got the treatment they need. It's just what we're doing. They're the ones who are defiant, Dyer told the Chronicle. They're the ones that continually show up at public places and set up their tents after they've been asked not to. They're the ones that are continually lying in front of businesses, defecating on the sidewalks or in front of businesses, or urinating on the walls of the businesses, breaking out windows of businesses, stealing copper wire from businesses. Interesting. See, what you're telling me, let me see if I'm getting this right. And I'm being facetious here. You're going to actually start arresting people for their criminal conduct? Wow. I don't know how I feel about that. I mean, seems kind of drastic, doesn't it? Now, that's the kind of behavior it's going to take to make this thing work. You got to make it hard for people to not be able to do all those things that we just talked about. And the reason that they're defecating on the sidewalks or front of the businesses or urinating on the walls, because they don't care and there's no repercussions for their actions and they're all whacked out on drugs. People don't want to say that. They just want to say, they just lost their job and they're out on their luck. Folks who are trying to get back on their feet aren't absolutely taking a dump everywhere. That's drug addict behavior. That's psychotic behavior. It's people that their bodies are so, ravaged by drug use and they eat a bunch of crappy food and when they go, and it might happen on the sidewalk. They can't really get somewhere and, that's going to happen. So those folks need to be in the shelter system, but they won't go because you can't do drugs there. You can't do your lifestyle. It's like the guy at the beginning said, it's too much like jail. They're the ones that are most problematic. Dyer estimates that from among the nearly 1,400 unsheltered people in Fresno, about 5% fit that problematic category. But even at that point, he said, instead of defaulting to the jail, we want to also give those people an opportunity for treatment. Well, you do. But unless you have that treatment available, what are you going to do? And here's the deal. Say you have services, say you have treatment, and it's way more than 5% guaranteed. You're going to have a big contingency of people who just say, I don't want to go into treatment. I don't want to go into the shelter system. I'm fine doing what I'm doing right here. And so, they're indicating these are the folks. Where are they going to go? The answer is away. Maybe they go to Portland. Yeah, you're playing whack-a-mole because these folks aren't going to just disappear. They aren't going to go, you know what? Life is getting tough out here on the streets. Life is getting tough. They're arresting my ass. This is terrible. This is horrible. Maybe I should just give up and, go straight. Maybe I should just give up the drug lifestyle, give up the shoplifting lifestyle, give up the whatever it is lifestyle that is illegal, that is funding their drug habit. Maybe I should just go straight. No, they're not doing that. They're moving to a community. They're going elsewhere where they can still do that. So literally, this is the way I see it. And if they choose treatment, we will hold that police report in abeyance until they complete a program. Okay. But you know what? None of these folks are going down that road. Let's see. You're going to arrest me or I can go to treatment. Oof, yeah. How long am I going to be in jail for? Well, judges here are pretty lenient, so maybe a day or two. All right, I can suck that up. I can make that go. They ain't going to treatment. And if they complete a program, we will dispose of it. All right. But these are the things that this community has chosen to do. And they're really hammering down. And they will get rid of a large contingency of their homeless population. I don't think you're ever going to get rid of homeless. You're just not. There's always going to be some of that going on out there. But it's kind of like, when I was a kid, I'm 55. And so when I was a kid in the 70s, you had like what we referred to as transients or bumps or winos. You're always going to have some folks that fit that category. And they were always in downtown because that's where they had the congregate shelters and they had the housing for them. But they were just, back then it was, either heroin or, alcohol. And it was mainly alcohol. Because you didn't have the cocaine, you didn't have fentanyl, period. You didn't have everything else. You just had, Seattle's always had a heroin problem. And I think it's because you got a bunch of depressed people because of the weather. I don't know. Portland and the West Coast, a lot of rain. We got a lot of rain. People are depressed. I'm just going to take a little heroin, make myself feel better. No, you got a lot of people who are depressed. And if you've got easy access to heroin, you self-medicate and then sometimes you die. It's horrible, right? It's horrible. So what's going to happen here in Fresno? I bet you they clean up their homeless numbers like that. Oh, I'm going to get arrested. Oh, you're going to toss all my stuff. Oh, whereas here in Seattle, you've got all these activists that just run around just wanting to let people just do their own thing because of, again, that completely misguided compassion. That whole harm reduction, which is all harm, no reduction. Yeah, we're not really seeing that here, are we? We're seeing, hey, you can't be doing that stuff. Those shenanigans, we're a no-go on that, to the point where we might arrest you if you're belligerent enough. I say give it a rip. Why not? I mean, this is the way it should be, right? Police arrest people. And again, this is in a community if you have enough police officers to do this. The cops are going to be like, good Lord, we got enough going on. I don't want to deal with this. But again, you got to have some teeth behind the ordinance. This is where it's at. You arrest some folks, see how it goes. All right. I will report back to you on this one because there'll be a part 2 on this. Hey, remember when we talked about Fresno? We'll do that one. I'll see you then. Okay. We'll talk soon. Thanks again for being here. Bye for now.